So today we're taking a look at designer screen shades with UltraGlide. I've got my UltraGlide designer screen shade here, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in the lower position. And as I lower the shade down to the bottom of the window, it seems like I could just stop pulling at the bottom, but what our customers tend to do is continue to pull, and if the limit's not set correctly, this is the look I get at the bottom of the window. So that's something I want to take care of with this product. I'm going to go ahead and raise my shade up, and as I raise the shade up and get to the top of the window, I realize the top limit is set correctly for this product. What I'm going to do next is adjust the lower limit. The first step is removing the shade. So with the shade in the up position, I'm going to go ahead and remove the shade by compressing the pin on the end of the shade and remove it out of the mounting brackets. So now we're taking a look at our designer screen shades with UltraGlide down on a table surface. Understand that the lift mechanism and the limits are located on the same side of the shade for this product. The other end here has this pin that compresses into the mounting bracket, and that's kind of all this end does. So what I want to do is focus on this end of the product here, and I'm going to go ahead and remove this lift mechanism and set the limits. As I'm pulling the lift mechanism out of the shade, I want to start making pencil marks in locations so I stick the shade back in the same locations. I'm going to come over here to this feature of the lift mechanism here, and I'm going to start making scribbles there. Even though this mechanism's black, you can see those pencil scribbles there. Black marker is kind of tough to see. I use a pencil. I'm also going to mark the end of the rail here where that feature fits into the rail. So there I am, I've marked both of those features. I can relocate that back in place. As I slide the limit out of the shade, that's the lift mechanism, here comes the limit. This feature of the limit here also needs to realign in the grooves in the rotator rail. So I'm going to go ahead and also make a pencil mark here, and though I've already marked the feature of the rail, so I've got a pencil mark on there, I know right where that guy goes back in. So now we're taking a look at the lift and the lift mechanism, and when I'm dealing with this, realize this is the top limit here. The shade lowers, 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 lowers down, but when I go back up, it hits a feature here at the end of this threaded feature. That is the top limit, and that feature's mark lines up with the mark on the groove as we removed it from the rotator tube. The bottom limit is this feature, so this limit comes down and actually impacts this feature, creating the bottom limit. So that's the bottom of the shade. I want to adjust this end. The top limit was okay, I'm not worried about him. This end here has a tab and a locking collar that hold the limit feature in place. So if I go ahead and remove this tab here, just flex it back and slide the collar out, I can go ahead and turn this feature and set the bottom limit. I'm setting that limit there. To set that limit, the best way to do it, the easiest way to get it to the right position, is to go ahead and put this feature here next to the top limit. Then I'm going to put this back in the window and run the shade down. As it's running down and I stop it at the desired position and go back up, that limit's going to stay in place inside the shade. I can then just move this locking collar onto that location. So we're going to remove the locking collar out of the way, put the up limit up, put the bottom limit where it will impact the shade, my pencil marks on my lift mechanism here, and on the mechanism itself, the pencil marks, you can see them there, do line up. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in to the tube of our designer screen shades with UltraGlide. Let's take a look here, bring the shade back in, and this is the features that I'm concerned about. I have 4 posts, notches, pins, whatever you're going to call them, 4 features inside here that have to line up with the grooves that we made a mark on. Here's my pencil mark here. I'm going to go ahead and reinsert the lift into the tube, lining up my pencil marks, and I may have to physically turn this to get that mark to line up and go in. And I'm lining up the lift. Everybody's back in place and happy. Now we're ready to go back to the window opening. So now we're back at the window and I've reinstalled the shade. At this point, I'm going to lower the shade down to the desired position. Remember, we've unlocked our bottom limit and we're setting it in the desired position. So I'm just going to lower the shade down to the desired position and stop the blind. At this point, I'll go ahead and raise the blind up and we'll head back over to the table. So here we are back at the table taking a look at our designer screens with UltraGlide. And what we're going to do now is remove the lift from the shading. We've been at the window and we've lowered the shading and raised it back up. And what I've got here is I've already got my pencil marks made. I made them previously, so all of that is the same. But what's happened now is the top limit here, when it was going down, down, down to the bottom, it drove the bottom limit to the correct position. So I don't really want to mess with the bottom limit at this point. I want to bring in the locking ring here and snap it on to that limit, press it into place there. Understand that because of the increments here on the shade, these increments here, it's difficult to get the shade more precise in length than 3/8 of an inch. And realize you've got the variation of this lift going to this guy over the OD or outside diameter of this tube, and then the variation and roll up in the various fabrics. 3/8 of an inch is as tight as this limit is going to set for us. So I've set my limit here. It's set where I desired the bottom rail to be. Now all I have to do is return the lift mechanism into the rotator tube. So we're going to bring our shade back in here. We're going to line up all the pencil marks. This limit's locked into place, the bottom limit here. Top limit, we want to put it all the way at the top and line our pencil marks up here and here with our feature of the tube we made a pencil mark in. So I'm lining everybody up here, inserting it in from the end. Might need a little help lining it up. Putting my feature of the lift mechanism in, sliding that all into place, and now we're ready to return back to the window. So now we're back at the window with our designer screen shades with UltraGlide. We've set the bottom limit and locked the locking collar into place. Let's see how we did. We're going to lower the shade down to the bottom limit, and look what's happened. Our shade is now set at the correct position. By adjusting the limit locking collar by 1 increment, I can make this shade 3/8 of an inch longer or 3/8 of an inch shorter. The big variables for this product are the fabric chosen, the thickness of the fabric, and the length of the shade. All of that's going to affect my limit setting. And that's taking a look at designer screens with UltraGlide bottom limit setting.